Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping in a time machine and heading back over 5,000 years to uncover a society that, honestly, reads almost like science fiction. You see, while much of the world was literally just figuring out basic village life, the Indus Valley civilization was out there building sprawling, grid-patterned metropolises complete with underground plumbing. But here's the real mystery, the thing that's going to blow your mind. They did it all without absolute monarchs, without massive armies, and without any ego-driven monuments. So how on earth did they achieve this ancient utopia? Okay, let's dive into this. We'll start with the first great urbanization, then we'll look at their master planners and architects. Third, a society without kings. Fourth, an economy of precision. And finally, we'll wrap up with the Great Decline. Part 1, the first great urbanization. To really wrap our heads around the Indus Valley civilization, or the Harappan culture as it's also known, we first need to grasp its unbelievable geographical scale. I mean, this wasn't just a couple of isolated cities. We're looking at India's very first massive phase of urbanization. And as you can see, the spread is absolutely staggering. Way up in the north, we've got Shortagai in modern-day Afghanistan. Swing over to the west, and Sukhgendor sits right on the Pakistan-Iran border. Move east, and you hit Alamgirpur in Uttar Pradesh. And it goes all the way down south to Daimabad in Maharashtra. The core areas spanned across modern-day Pakistan, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Haryana. Covering such a vast, diverse terrain back in the Bronze Age, that required an incredible, almost unprecedented level of cultural integration, standardized communication, and serious logistical coordination. But you know, this level of integration definitely didn't just happen overnight. The source material gives us this fascinating timeline of how the society actually evolved. Starting around 3300 BC, we enter the early Harappan phase. This was a crucial era of regionalization, grid planning was kind of just beginning to take shape, and the early trade networks that would soon make them famous were actively forming. Fast forward to around 2600 BC, and boom, they hit the mature Harappan phase. This is the era of integration and full-scale urbanization. Massive cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa emerge with standardized writing systems and extremely far-reaching trade. Finally, post-1800 BC, we enter the late Harappan phase. It's a tragic period of localization where these grand systems broke down, and many of these incredible sites were just progressively abandoned. Let's move to part 2, master planners and architects. So what did this mature, fully integrated phase actually look like? Well, prepare to be amazed because their civic planning was centuries, if not millennia, ahead of its time. Almost all their major cities followed this brilliant dual city layout. One key part of this was the citadel. Think of it as a physically separated, raised mud brick platform constructed specifically to keep out floodwaters. It housed the most important public structures like the Great Bath in Mohenjo-Daro. And get this, it wasn't just a basic pool. It was a finely engineered tank made completely watertight using naturally occurring bitumen and gypsum mortar. It was likely used for ritual purification. The citadel also held these massive granaries with built-in air ducts for storing agricultural surplus. Now, this administrative hub was totally distinct from the lower town, which is where the general population lived. And the lower town? Meticulously built on a precise grid with streets intersecting at exact right angles, dividing the city into perfectly proportioned rectangular and square blocks. It's like a giant puzzle perfectly pieced together. But here is the absolutely crucial point about how they built these cities. They didn't just stack unshaped rocks or mud, no. They used standard, uniformly burnt bricks, and they used a strict, exact mathematical ratio of 1 to 2 to 4. This specific standard dictated the thickness, width, and length of every single burnt brick used across all Harappan structures, from the massive retaining walls of the citadels all the way down to the humblest homes in the lower town. This incredible architectural standard was maintained across a civilization spanning thousands of miles. I mean, just think about the sheer logistics of ensuring brickmakers from Afghanistan all the way down to Gujarat were using the exact same blueprints. It's totally mind-boggling. And this brilliantly illustrates just how advanced they were compared to their neighbors. While contemporary builders in Egypt and Mesopotamia were still heavily relying on sun-dried bricks, the Harappans were firing standard ratio baked bricks to create highly durable structures that could actually withstand massive monsoon floods. But honestly, perhaps their greatest achievement was their underground drainage. Every single house was connected to covered street drains. They engineered sophisticated sumps and cesspits where solid matter safely settled while wastewater smoothly flowed out of the city. Public sanitation and personal hygiene were literally baked right into the city grid. That's a concept that wouldn't be replicated on this scale until the Roman Empire thousands of years later. Which brings us to part 3, a society without kings. We've seen their towering architectural achievements, but as we peel back the layers of this civilization, we uncover what is arguably the most astonishing fact about their entire culture. No palaces, no royal burials, no monumental temples. Seriously. Across hundreds of massive, exceptionally wealthy urban sites, archaeologists haven't found a single monument built to glorify an ego-driven king. There are no grand inscriptions detailing bloody warfare, no towering temples dominating the landscape, and absolutely no royal tombs filled with sacrificial victims. It was a civilization built entirely on order, trade, and peace. It's completely devoid of the chaotic, top-down royal tyranny we usually associate with ancient history. To put that into perspective, let's contrast the Indus Valley with their contemporaries in Mesopotamia and Egypt. While those societies were heavily ruled by ego-driven god kings and tightly controlled by institutional temple elites, the Harappans operated entirely differently. The evidence suggests their cities were actually governed by collective managerial councils. Basically, it was a proto-corporate model where power was process-driven, standardized, and distributed among merchant guilds or neighborhood representatives. Even their religion was remarkably secular and private. The sources show they worshiped nature, revering the pipal tree, for instance, or finding spiritual meaning in household-led faiths involving a proto-Shiva figure and the mother goddess, famously depicted on their incredibly intricate steatite seals. They relied on personal simplicity and natural alignment rather than massive institutional control.
Part 4. An economy of precision. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this highly organized, peaceful society wasn't just surviving, it was absolutely thriving. And they did it not through conquest or plundering their neighbors, but through vast, highly precise secular trade. Just look at this sequence of numbers: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Just like their bricks, their commercial weights were mathematically futuristic. They utilized a pure binary progression, essentially a proto-digital logic system encoded in precisely cut shirt stone weights. These ratios powered a deeply standardized commercial economy, allowing merchants from Gujarat to trade fairly and seamlessly with merchants in modern-day Afghanistan, long before the word binary was ever used in mathematics or computing.
So, what exactly were they weighing and trading? Well, the archaeological record reveals a massive network of incredibly specialized sites. Take Chanudaro, located in the Sindh province. It wasn't just your regular town. It was almost exclusively devoted to specialized craft production. It was essentially an ancient industrial hub for bead making, shell cutting, metalworking, and crafting those intricate seals we talked about. Meanwhile, sites like Dholavira featured truly unique water harvesting systems with massive stone reservoirs, and Kalabengan yielded evidence of plowed fields and fire altars. The entire civilization functioned as this interconnected web of highly specialized economic and agricultural zones, each contributing uniquely to the civilization's overall immense wealth. Because of this deep regional specialization, their export game was virtually unmatched in the ancient world. They exported highly sought-after luxury goods like lapis lazuli, ivory, and carnelian, along with high-quality cotton textiles that were traded all the way to Mesopotamia. Oh, and they cultivated mustard and sesame 5,000 years ago. That actually laid down an enduring flavor legacy that still completely defines modern Indian cuisine today. And to move all these goods globally, they built revolutionary infrastructure. The city of Lothal in Gujarat operated an incredibly advanced maritime dockyard that was literally synced to the ocean tides. It used controlled hydraulics and a lock system to safely lift and guide massive trade ships. Honestly, it was an absolute logistical marvel. Let's move to and see how this builds into Part 5, the Great Decline. Because despite all their wealth, their peace, and their astonishing mastery of math and urban planning, this utopia didn't last forever. For a long time, the sudden disappearance of the Harappan culture was blamed on a violent Aryan invasion. But the source material actually points us to a much more tragic, natural reality. It wasn't war that defeated them. The collapse was a slow, devastating cascade of environmental and geographical failures. Step 1, critical water sources, most notably the mighty Gagar-Hakra river system, literally began to dry up. Step 2, they faced severe climatic degradation and shifting monsoon weather patterns that totally destroyed their agricultural surplus. And Step 3, tectonic disturbances triggered massive floods and shifted river courses entirely. Over centuries, these insurmountable environmental pressures forced the population to abandon their grand grid-planned cities and migrate further south and east into much smaller village settlements. Which leaves us with a truly profound question to end on. The Indus Valley civilization had perfect urban planning, zero absolute tyrants, a booming binary-based economy, and incredible public hygiene. Yet, they were ultimately undone by shifting rivers and a changing climate. If a civilization this advanced,
this peaceful, and this perfectly organized could be erased by the whims of the environment. What does that mean for our own modern, heavily planned world today? It's definitely something we should all be thinking about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the past to understand our future.